You are listening to the ERP, Organizational Change Journal, a podcast brought to you by Nestell and Associates.
What do you think is the future of ERP in general? And what are some of the innovations and emerging technology driving ERP in 2023 and beyond? I mean, AI, chatbots, predictive analytics, and so forth. What's your general thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%. That needs to be part of the core ERP. Ubix adds value in their own personal algorithms and things like that. They're the next level predictive analytics, machine learning that take external data sources married with your data source. So they're really that best of breed. But even in the core ERP system, you're going to want machine learning, robotic process automation, predictive analytics as part of the core offering. For example, let's use a sales cycle, right? I have an opportunity. And then based on the opportunity conditions, what products they're looking at, what regions they're in, whatever that is, the system, at least, SAP can go through and look at that and tell you what your chance of success is based off of similar conditions and similar environments. So it really, like I mentioned before, it helps you make those managerial decisions and where to invest your time and energy into the highest chance of success. And so without that, really, I guess to summarize that, it's all about the intelligent enterprise and really making use of that enterprise level data into what we call insight to action. So based off of that insight, the system then will give me a win-loss percentage recommendation, and then I can perform action, right? And so this brings it to my attention that this is a high chance of success. So certainly I want to nurture that account a little bit more than others.
Yeah.
On the support-centric type of organizations, chatbots are awesome, right? And that's becoming more and more expected. Yeah. So for any kind of best of breed solution, that's the stuff that you want to make sure that your vendor, your software publisher is invested heavily in, because those are very big lifts to kind of put into the core DNA of the product itself. And finally, I mentioned it, but the robotic process automation is something that it's not necessarily new, but it's become more, I'm getting more and more use cases on it. My customers are learning more about it and understanding how it can add use to their businesses. And then we can help facilitate that, right? So anything that you're doing manually or have to go in and change based off of certain conditions, just having the system do that for you automatically is a huge time and value add. So an example of that is you get an email with an attachment on it, and then we can have a bot reading that email, bring it directly into your system and post that supplier invoice and actually match it against a PO for any kind of leveraging machine learning attributes, based on these conditions, look to this area to recognize the data. And I'm getting too detailed, but it's just really cool process automation things that really add value to the user experience, right?
Yeah. And I love that topic, in terms of how can technology, emerging technologies, or even existing, maybe they're not technologies that you would necessarily consider emerging technologies, but they've been around a while, but they're starting to be incorporated into the ERP products. And I'm fascinated by that idea because we've actually talked about this quite a bit with previous guests, and, this idea of improving the human experience. One guest described it was really the idea, if there's a specific use case for these technologies, I mean, having the technologies is one thing, but making them useful in a way that can improve the human experience or facilitate the human experience is really, what it's all about. But what a fascinating idea. And just to see where we're going to be 5, 10, 15 years from now with ERP software and how the technology has changed that human experience, I think is a very interesting idea.
Yeah, one of the things we're trying to do is, like I mentioned, and you said it as well, as we come across more of these use cases, we're packaging them up into a usability pack or that experience pack and making them available to the community at large, right? Just to not as necessarily a revenue generating exercise, but I think it's good to get passion in the community and sharing those experiences and use cases with others.
Yeah, absolutely. So Russell, let's talk about SAP specifically in terms of SAP products. So, Business One and or by design, what are the emerging technologies that SAP is actually building or plans to build over the next, 1 to 5 years that you think will act as a competitive differentiator for SAP? Is there such a thing? Do you think there's any one area or technology that SAP is really focused on that would, I guess, be more of a competitive differentiator for their product?
That's a good question. It's hard to get specific on, but SAP has been highly focused on the intelligent enterprise, is what they would call it.
Yeah.
And that's basically a bundle of the last question, right? So now machine learning is free out of the box, right? It has the algorithms and everything in there. You just need to train the data. Robotic process automation, again, it's just free. It's what they're investing in now because it is a stable core product. It's feature rich. And now their focus is more on how do we enhance that human experience or the user experience. And secondly, obviously making the technology future proof, right? So those are the two areas of core investment right now to make SAP that long-term player in the market and that innovative lead. I believe even in the Gartner matrix, they're the highest in innovation of all ERP systems.
Hey, Russell, can you do me a favor for our listeners that may not understand? You just mentioned future-proof, having an ERP system that's future-proof. What do you mean by that?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So there are some publishers out there that are, for lack of a better term, just putting lipstick on a pig. But SAP has, invested in the core infrastructure to keep their technology on the latest and greatest, right? So moving from their own databases to the hyperscalers, right? Because that is the future of how technology is trending. Changing technology from a Silverlight technology to a HTML5 technology, right? Being on the cloud, a true cloud model, not a on-premise system hosted in the cloud, is really that initiative, right? And it's their responsibility to update their maybe legacy technology into where technology is trending and to future-proof it, right?
That was a great point. I really wanted to emphasize that for our listeners. That's something to be aware of, absolutely, because you're right. There are ERP vendors that perhaps do put lipstick on a pig, and that can get pretty clunky, and that causes all sorts of problems eventually, especially if, as you'd mentioned, all these various technologies, as you try to, I guess, improve your product by taking advantage of these technologies, if you're not future-proof, that can bring some challenges for sure.